Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am continuing our reaction video from yesterday where we were reacting to Georgia Doe's Angel video called Angel's Abuse. For anybody that hasn't seen any of these reaction videos, basically Georgia Doe is a professional psychotherapist who uses her knowledge, expertise, and experience to analyze these characters and give us more insight into what makes these characters tick. In my case, I am not a professional, but I have been around the block. I'm 33 years old and I've done things that some people never will. And I'm basically using my real life experience to give another perspective on these characters. Maybe help somebody who doesn't necessarily like or trust professionals to show that there's other people out there who have been through it who can maybe help you a little bit. But, yeah. If you guys want to see part one, I'll have that linked in the description. Part one was already pretty emotional for me. As while I have never been a victim of sexual abuse, I have been a victim of abuse in relationships, and I've had loved ones who were abused in every form, including sexual abuse. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, please drop a like, subscribe if you're new, support Georgia Doe. And enough from me. Let's jump in and continue the episode. As you guys can see, we're taking off right where the last one left off. So, let's do it.
You say,
Yes, Valentino.
when I say you are 20 guys before lunch, you say,
Yes, Valentino.
And I think it's very interesting to note that for Angel, it was easy to say yes to appease Val with everything that had to do with him. Because often they think that if I just give them what they want, things are going to be okay. They're going to be more calm. And that fear of confrontation, that fear of dealing with that anger, having someone angry at you can overpower us.
when I say you better.
So, where we left off, Charlie had showed up. Valentino was pissed. Valentino was taking it out on Angel. And basically, what George is explaining is that rather than dealing with Valentino's anger, Angel's just saying yes to everything. Which, you know, you see a lot in abusive relationships. It's like, rather than, I don't want to mess up, I don't want to make my significant other mad because, you know, I know how they get when they get mad, and I'd rather just do it even if I don't want to do whatever it is they're asking me to do. Another thing is Angel wanting to protect Charlie. Let me appease Val so Val doesn't end up hurting Charlie.
Get that out of my studio. You say, you say,
But when it comes to his friends, you could see it's a much more difficult thing. Angel cares more about his friends than he fears Val. And I think that that's one of Angel's really beautiful traits. I think that some people on the show have missed how very protective and caring Angel is, because he pretends like everything is glitz and fake, but inside his friends matter to him very deeply, more than they do for himself. And so hopefully I would say to Angel, you need to work on your inner voice and treat yourself the way that you would treat your friends.
Look, Val, she just...
That was some real advice. That's another thing you see with a lot of trauma victims, a lot of abuse victims, where they value themselves so low on their totem pole, but they still care about other people a lot. Most times more than themselves. Again, I've lived that. I went through a lot of time where I didn't think I mattered. Even when I first started my YouTube channel, I didn't expect it to go anywhere because I didn't think anybody would ever want to hear me talk. But you have to be good to yourself, and that's a lesson I've learned more recently than any other time in my life. Where, you know, they always say, you know, you can't take care of others if you don't take care of yourself. I was the kind of person who never prioritized my own well-being because I didn't think I was worth it, and it was a waste of time. You know, I'm a nobody. I don't need to be happy. But changing my perspective on it, making myself, as I like to say, a little selfish, worrying about myself, has improved my quality of life so much and allowed me to actually take the things I've experienced now, you know, how I've changed my perspective, how I've become more motivated, how I've dealt with depression, anger, And I've actually been able to help friends in my life, people that I love who are struggling with these problems, and see them improve because of the advice that I've lived and then given to them. Like, I had a friend of mine who was very, self-sacrificing. She put everybody above herself. And I basically told her she had to start prioritizing herself. Otherwise, it's just going to damage her in the long run. And she is doing so much better, and I'm so proud of her. But sorry, I went off into a whole long tangent. Let's keep going.
Gets involved in everything. I'll tell her to leave. Just don't hurt her.
And that also often happens in abusive relationships, that they're gonna use the threat of hurting those you care about so that you stay, so that they can keep control. And for a lot of people, that's why they do stay. Not only is it that they understand this and know this, but that they're trying to protect those around them from this threat of violence or financial ruin or embarrassment or harm to those that they care about. And so the abuser will end up using that against you. I don't want to give the feeling that it's okay to be an abuser. I also don't want to lie and say that they haven't also probably gone through all kinds of horror and trauma. That doesn't mean that it's okay, because there are a lot of people that have gone through horror and trauma and not abused or hurt.
I know she's going off, and I hate interrupting her, but I mentioned this in part one. If you guys haven't seen part one, or if you're coming here, as she's saying, there are people who've been through trauma who don't turn into abusers. There's also people who haven't been through trauma who just are abusers. There are just straight assholes out there who just like that feeling of control, like that feeling of beating somebody down, just straight bullies. And unfortunately, I've had the misfortune of meeting people like that too.
Others. But people that are abusive are also often the victims of abuse themselves. There's so many more layers to this than black and white, good and bad. We want to take accountability for our own behavior.
It just hit me now. It's a learned behavior in some cases. In some cases, people go through the trauma, go through the abuse, and that's how they pick up the behavior from somebody that did it to them. So they dish it out to other people. There was another media that did a really good job displaying this, but obviously to a much greater extreme. If anybody's ever watched Tokyo Ghoul, when it comes to Jason Yamori, how he likes to torture people because he was tortured. Obviously, anime takes it to another level, but that's an example of something like that.
And do better and be better for all of us. And yes, after the ages of adulthood, your behaviors are now your responsibility. And sometimes we need to take a really hard look at who we are, be able to actually go through concrete steps to make them better.
I have killed for less than this attitude you're giving me. You're lucky you make me money. Now you're gonna go get rid of her, and then you're filming all night.
And that is Val blaming Angel for his behavior. You did this, you are lucky. You're lucky you have me. No one would treat you the way that I have. You're lucky that I take care of you. And that makes Angel, especially when you're in this mind sphere of abuse, it's almost like being in the fishbowl. You can't see things from the outside. And remember, if you hear something enough times, you start to believe it. You believe it without question. And so for a lot of cases, Angel probably believes that he deserves this, that he has asked for this, that he isn't worth anything more than this. And that works really well
Calling
for
me
Val,
out like
because
that.
then Val gets to control him and do with him as he wishes.
All right, get your back on set, and we are taking this from the top.
What makes you think you can treat him like that?
Charlie!
I love that the one time we see Charlie's rage, the true amount of her power, is in defense of Angel. Do you see that? Like, I wish that we could play this out and see.
Really, when I first watched the pilot, all I wanted from the get-go was to see Charlie lose it, because I knew it was going to happen. And we see a little bit of it there, but we don't get to see it until the season finale, where Charlie fully transforms into her demon form. But God, I feel like she would have just tore Val a new one, would have ripped his wings right off.
What she would have done to Val if Angel hadn't stepped in. But of course, Angel, being Angel, wants to protect her and protect her from Val. And the fastest, most easy way is to get rid of her so that she will be safe. Because the last thing that Angel would want would be for Charlie to hurt herself, and because of him. Because for him, he doesn't see himself as being worth risking her.
Just stop!
Angel, what are you talking about?
Charlie, leave!
And it's funny because for both Charlie and for Angel, they really will risk their full power to protect the other, to protect the people that they care about, but not for themselves. That's really one of the beautiful traits that they both have, but I would want them to also apply that inward.
Get the f out of here and let me finish my work.
I didn't mean to.
And I think the beautiful part of that is that Angel knows that Charlie would not leave if Angel didn't really mean it. This is the only way that she would leave, is if he meant it and meant it really strongly and was angry at her for being there. And so you can hear the hurt in Angel's voice to have to say this because he knows he's hurting Charlie, but for him it's for the greater good because that gets her away from Val and keeps her safe. Because the last thing that Angel would want would be for Val to treat her the way that he treats him. It's hard to watch someone in an abusive relationship because they may not leave, they may not be ready, and it's really traumatic to have to go through that and kind of watch on the sidelines. And if you're seeing that or dealing with it, you want to be able to be there, emotionally support, but you can't force someone to leave. It becomes really, really difficult. They may choose to go back, and so it causes a whole bunch of secondary trauma. And often the way that we discuss it also is, why do you let them do this? It has a lot of judgmental questions that makes a person feel bad about themselves.
What she just said, I liked it a lot. The judgmental aspect of it. I had a friend of mine who was in an abusive relationship. It was bad. It was really bad. He would force himself on her. He would beat her. At one point, he damn near forced her to give up her kid. Drugs. It was bad. And I've known this person since high school, so we were friends for a very long time. And I tried to get her to see what was going on. And mind you, I was really young. I hadn't seen this problem before. I just knew how bad it was. I knew she was being hurt. And she ended up pushing me away because she wasn't ready to leave. And unfortunately, I no longer talk to that person. I haven't in years, and I hope she's doing okay. But all you can do is be there for them. They have to see the problem. They have to make the change. But more than anything, you can't try and judge them. You ask them why you let them do this to you, or why you let this happen. Sounds like you're showing concern, but it's such a judgmental question because it's just like, to them, it's more like, how could you let this happen? You know what I mean?
And perhaps not share that much. And so it's really complex and really difficult for everyone that's involved. But it's okay also to know what your limits are. You cannot carry anyone else over the finish line. We each also have to be responsible for our own actions. So it's a difficult place for Charlie to be.
What the actual f are you doing here?
Here we go.
Put something in your drink.
I do this all the f time.
You just let people drug you all the time?
You think I ask for it? I don't ask for any of this. I didn't ask to be this way.
And for Angel, often that's what happens, is that because of all the negativity, because we're taught that we're worth nothing, we can often then express ourselves or treat ourselves as if we are not worth anything more. We almost expect to be abused because that's how we see. It's often a feeling of self-sabotage or self-hatred that we end up putting out in many different ways. And for Angel, it's drug abuse and allowing people to treat him poorly. But other people can do it through many different ways.
I just saw someone selfie.
I've mentioned it before in other videos and in part one, my abandonment issues, especially after coming home from Afghanistan. It's like everybody was the enemy. And I pushed so many people away. I mistreated loved ones. That mistreated my friends. My own mother thought I hated her. my opinion of myself became so low through the years, and it's just trying to think of where it started. Everybody telling me I was a failure, having children young and being told I was a bad father, like going to the military and they beat the shit out of me. Like, oh. And then the way I turned it on everybody else, it's just like nobody values me enough to keep me around, so I might as well just not let them. Why am I gonna let them get close if they're just gonna end up hurting me later?
Destructing. It seems like you might need a bartender to talk to.
And some days were worse than others.
So, now you're gonna act like you give a about me? You think after how you treated me, I'm gonna open up to you?
And that's also true. If we've been judgmental in the past or questioned someone often, then we're not going to be the person that someone turns to. If you're going to share something that you're embarrassed about or you feel bad about, you're going to go to someone that you think will listen, that will see you for who you are, not the perhaps fake persona that you've put on to the world. And that feeling of being judged, especially in therapy, when you're going to be sharing all kinds of your hurts and wounds and mistakes in order to get better, you want someone that you feel comfortable enough will be able to listen, and listen without a judgmental eye, because no one wants the feeling of being pitied or embarrassed or judged. And we all make mistakes, and we all do the best with what we can with the tools that we have on hand.
Maybe I'd treat you better if you were real and not some bull version of yourself, always pushing my boundaries. Nobody in that hotel cares who you are, how famous, how hot. So you might as well just cut the act.
Yeah, sometimes we put out this perfect version of who we think we are because we often fear that if someone really knew who we were, they wouldn't accept us. They would throw us away. And I think though for Angel would rather the fake personas than the person gets thrown away than the person who they really are. So Angel puts out this paper version of himself. And then if you reject him or abandon him, it's not him, deep him, that you're rejecting, which would hurt so much more. It's just this fake plastic persona that even Angel pushes people away with, tries to add shock value. And I think that for Angel, it's also testing people. He's testing if he can trust people constantly by trying to push these boundaries. At least then, if they abandon him, it's because of the boundary that he's pushed. And then he can walk closer to people that he feels is really safe. So it's almost like he's constantly thinking that he's on thin ice and that he'll be left at some point.
In my case, this goes back to what I was saying, where it's just like, if they're going to leave me because I'm a dickhead, that's fine. At least they didn't get close enough to actually, cause me any real pain. It was a really lonely time in my life, and it's only after I started to heal and recover from it that I realized how much I hated it. Even to this day, if I'm alone for too long, just stuck in my own head, it really fucks with me. I'll go through my phone, look for people. It'll be 3 a.m. I know everybody's asleep, but third shift, and I'm just like, why can't somebody be awake just so I have somebody to talk to, so I don't have to sit here and wonder why nobody's ever here for me. Mind you, I have people in my life who are here for me. It's just when I get alone, it's like it puts a magnifying glass on such a minuscule problem. And well, now I deal with it a lot better, reminding myself of the people I do have. My early to mid 20s, I just didn't let anybody get close, and I just stewed in the anger of being all by myself, and I thought I could do everything by myself, but seriously, nobody can. Everybody needs a little help in one way or another. We're a social species, you know what I mean?
No matter what. And he doesn't want to feel safe and comfortable because then that's when he's going to be dropped.
It's not an act! It's who I need to be. And this is my escape. Where I can forget about it all. How much I hate everything.
How much he hates himself. And how much he hates what happens inside of his head. And people can escape with many things. A hobby, food, a video game. Doesn't just have to be alcohol, drugs, love, sex. We often use many other things to escape the negative feelings that we have because they hurt so deeply.
A place where I can get high and not have to think about how much it hurts. If I can ruin myself enough in the process, I won't be his favorite toy anymore.
And that also happens a lot, especially with sexual abuse, that often people try to ruin themselves in different ways in the thought that if they looked less alluring, that the person that is hurting them would leave them alone. So they may gain weight, they may change their appearance, they may do something extreme to the way that they look in hopes that they won't be looked at as a sexual object.
As I've mentioned before, I've known other victims of sexual abuse. I've seen someone's whole style, even sexuality change. Their gender, they became transgender, and they pushed away anybody of the same sex, like it was anybody of the same sex as the person that assaulted them. Like it gets scary to see like what happens to people when they go through something like that. It's one of the worst traumas you can go through, especially, you know, if it happens to you when you're younger, when you barely even understand what's going on. That's why I can never, like, people that have assaulted children, like, that just puts so much anger in me to think about, being that I'm a dad with, you know, 2 teenagers. Like, what would I do if that actually happened to one of my kids?
It has nothing to do with sex. It has everything to do with power and control. It's all about you feeling weak and them feeling strong in the process. And that's what they're feeding off of.
I was an overlord once, you know. It was nice to have that power. But when you're dealing in souls, while also being a gambler, the stakes are pretty high.
Sometimes I would say that it's not the time to be able to make it about yourself and tell your own story. But in this case, Husk is doing it so that Angel doesn't feel judged, especially since even Angel said that why would I share with you after you disrespecting me so much? This is Husk sharing his vulnerability so that Angel learns that he's not that different from him. And we're both the same, and we've both gone through mistakes. And so I think that it was actually really beautiful of Husk, and I'll go through it in Husk's video on his own.
We already saw Husk's
him
video.
Sharing and being vulnerable so that Angel knows that we're the same, and you can trust me too. I'm here for you.
So I know what it's like to regret the choices made. And know when you can't take it back.
So if you or someone you know is going through abuse, it's much easier if you have someone to help you go through all of the steps. There are many different support groups, there are many different outreach groups that are in your area that you can call to find out what kind of support and help you can get therapeutically, financially, and to be able to give yourself a stable home to be able to move to if you need it. I'll leave some information if you need in the description. It's a really difficult, painful topic to go through because in the end, hurt people, and it's just so damaging to everyone that's involved. So hopefully you found this video to be useful and gives you some different tools, techniques, and ways of thinking about what Angel and others are going through. And so sometimes we don't recognize it. So hopefully you can take a look at this and see some of the red flags that may be around you to be able to get the heads up of not being in a relationship that is unhealthy or that can end up causing you emotional or physical damage. Because it's really important. We want to keep the people around us that are the most helpful and caring for who we are as a person. And we can stop the cycle of abuse. We need to be able to do better and recognize it, and hopefully recognize it at the beginnings instead of at the ends to it. This damages and destroys families and lives.
Damn,
so
that last
hopefully
part.
this video was helpful. Hopefully this gives you some hope and some tools and techniques to be able to get that. You can let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
All right, we made it through. That was rough. I got pretty emotional talking about some of the stuff. But remember, it's not just about me. I'm just showing you guys that, you know, you can go through all that and still make make it out the other side. I've been in a couple abusive relationships. One was physical, one was emotional, one was so controlling I couldn't hang out with my best friend without her calling to know where I was. It was scary. I've even had people turn my entire family against me. So, and now I'm with the love of my life who treats me like a king and I treat her like a queen. And I take all those experiences, and while sometimes I do get really in my own head, I have to remember how far I've come and look forward toward the future and do what I gotta do to make myself happy. And so do you. But thank you guys for tuning in. This reaction was rough. Of course, support JoJo Doe. Her content is amazing, and I've learned so much from watching her videos. And if you guys didn't see part 1 and you just stumbled upon part 2, she actually posted a response to one of my videos. Well, just a comment, but it was a really nice one, and it motivated me to do more of these. If this one does as well as the last couple did, which I'm hoping, I will do a deep dive and we will go through her Jinx series, because of all the fictional characters on her channel, Jinx is probably the one that I identify with the most, because of how Jinx gets abandoned by Vi at her absolute lowest. That scene breaks my heart, and seeing the trauma she goes through, just, yeah. So I will do that with you guys, and you will see another side of me, even more than you have in these videos. If you guys want to check out the original of her Angel video without my pausing and commentary, links to that will also be in the description. And if you guys want to check me out on social media, those links will also be down below. That is it from me. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.